show you how to modify the map that was created from the mapping tutorial that we showed you guys. So once you've gotten that map in .pgm form of the operating area you want, we're going to open up Gimp. Gimp is available on the golf cart's computer, so you can just open it up on there and we can work out of the files in the operating maps folder on the golf cart. I'm not on the golf cart right now, so some steps won't be quite the same considering that I'm not on the actual golf cart. So navigate to Gimp on the golf cart's computer, open up Gimp, and then we're going to open up the .pgm image file that was saved. So navigate to wherever it was saved, most likely in the operating maps folder, which is in the home folder on the golf cart. I'm going to actually navigate to an example one that we can use in the OneDrive for our team. And right here, click open, it'll convert it and bring it in. Down here we can find that the zoom is down. We can bring it up some, and what you'll see is the raw just map basically. That's the same as what you've already seen before. What we want to do is be able to add curbs and extra objects that the LiDAR did not see, but that we don't want the global planner to run into. So there's a couple of fairly simple steps we need to do to accomplish this. First of all, I'm going to navigate to some satellite imagery. You can use whatever program you want. I'll just use Google Maps for now. And what we're going to do is take a screenshot of this, of the approximate area that that the map is in, so that we can overlay and pull the curbs basically out of the image. So I'm going to click satellite, wait for it to do its thing, and you want to be careful that make sure that it's completely top down. Sometimes you'll get these 3D images and you want a real good top down image of it. So this map is of Unity Quad, so I'm just going to zoom in and get a real good screenshot. And you'll notice it's a little bit rotated. There's also some shadows. Depending on what program you use, if you use like Apple Maps, sometimes there's certain shadows are here or not here. And you want to look kind of where the building footprint is. Some of these buildings have overhangs, so lining up to the map is a little difficult. But regardless, I'm just going to get a nice zoomed in shot here. I'm going to take a screenshot of this whole thing. I'll just do this, just of the kind of the area we care about. And then what I'm going to do is navigate to that screenshot, open it in Gimp as well. These steps will be slightly different in Linux because I'm obviously on a Mac. And then just hit convert when it says to. So now you got two Gimp windows open, one of the satellite image and one of the map. In the satellite image one, what I'm going to do is, if you don't already have it open up the dialog box that's layers and brushes. Up here in Windows, dockable dialogues. There's basically two main ones you want. It's layers. You'll see them in here because I have them open right now, so they're not showing up right now. But layers and brushes, and then the other one hiding back here is the toolbox, tool options. So on this layer tab, you're going to copy the layer. Where's the copy button? No, sorry. Let's rename this first satellite. And then we should be able to Control C that layer and then go to your map and Control V. And you'll see you've got this satellite image in black and white that's copied in as a separate layer. Rename that again, whatever you want. And now it's set in there. You can toggle the visibility by clicking the eyeball, and also the opacity. You can toggle by clicking and dragging, which is what we're going to do. So the trick here is to basically line this satellite image up with the LiDAR map. The easiest way to do that is using the walls and using the walls outline and just matching them up with the lines on the map. So there's various tools in here in the toolbox to do that. You can do it with the scale tool to get it kind of the general size, and then the rotate tool and the skew tool or the shear or whatever to kind of get it rotated into the perfect orientation. You want to make sure that that all these layers up top in the top window always stay the same resolution, because that's what the YAML file uses, and that's what navigation uses to scale this image and load it in correctly. So don't change the resolution of the Gimp layers or anything like that. Just try to keep it all the same. I'm going to just do a rough scale up. So click the scale tool. Click on, make sure you have the satellite image layer selected. Click on it, and I'm just going to make, so you also have a lock aspect ratio button here, which you can lock or unlock. For now, I'm going to keep it locked, so that way when I scale, it doesn't, it stays the same proportions. And I'm just going to scale this up. Also, I'm going to turn the opacity down some more so I can see through. Oh, I guess it's not going to do it right now. I'm just going to get a rough scale, get it up there approximately the same. Something like this, and then I'm just going to hit scale, and it's going to do that. I'm going to turn the opacity down a little bit so that I can see through it a little bit. So it's kind of hard to see here, but you get an idea of them, and you're just trying to line this up. So you start to see some of the walls getting to be in the right spot. I'm going to just kind of, and you want to try to get this pretty accurate, because the more accurate you line it up, the better your curbs are going to be, the more accurate your curbs are going to be, and the better the golf cart will do in avoiding the curbs and the other objects that you put in. So it's not quite there yet. There's a move tool here. I'm going to start by getting the wall, at least one of the walls. I guess I'll start on this the rightmost building. I'm going to try to get that wall lined up as close as possible. So my computer's not the fastest, so it doesn't do these renders super fast, especially on this big of a image, but that's okay. It works. The golf cart's computer is a lot faster. Now we're definitely scaled a little bit wrongly, so I'm going to scale this up a little bit more. I'm going to scale it this way. We're getting close. Hit scale, see how we did. Also, it needs to be rotated a little bit. Oh, we still need to scale a little bit more. So I'm looking at these top buildings and just kind of trying to get them fit in here well. Scale, and let's see how we did. So we're very close. You can see how some of the top building lines are almost lined up. You want to be careful with this top building that we see in the satellite map. Actually has an overhang. It's hard to tell, honestly. I don't know if you can see my clicker, but if I turn this up, this part of the building is actually an overhang and doesn't represent the ground. So you want to look at like this part right here, and this part, and then make sure you look at the other building's ground portions, not the overhang, because the overhang is not what the LiDAR map will see. Because remember, the LiDAR is, at least the last time we set it, was up at like 2.5 meters and higher, is what it's seeing. So just keep skewing this until you get it right. I'm also going to use the rotate tool, click it once, and I'm going to just kind of rotate this all a little bit clockwise to get it lined up straight. You always want to be doing the moving on the map, not on the, or sorry, on the satellite map, not on the LiDAR map that we imported. You want to leave the LiDAR map completely be. All right, hit rotate. We're very close to the right orientation. I'm going to slide it around just a little bit more to get it a little bit closer to locked in. I'm looking at some of those buildings. I'm going to scroll down here, see how we did down here. We're actually very close. There's a little bit of noise here, so it's hard to tell where the wall actually is, and in the LiDAR map. You can also see some of the trees are coming in, and depending on what season of the year it is, you'll see trees much more clearly, or not so clear in the winter, for example. Also, keep in mind this Gleason building down on the bottom side of this map also has an overhang over the door, so that's kind of deceptive in terms of lining it up. But we're really close. I'm not going to worry about getting it perfect right now because this is just a demonstration. It's a waste of your time. But once we do have it lined up real nice, you'll want to take some time and make sure it's lined up really good. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer. Just call it obstacles or sidewalks or whatever. Hit OK. I'm just going to create a new layer there. And over in the paths dialog, which is up in the top right of the screen, we're going to create a new path. This is and we're also going to select the path tool up in the top left of your screen in the dialog box. And we're going to create a new path. We'll just say path is fine. And we're basically going to draw in all of our curbs right now. And there's a couple different methods to do this, but basically it's a polygon tool. So just click points around the curb edges, and I believe control click to or command click, depending on what computer you're using, to close the loop. And then once we have that, if you hit the edit button over here, under the paths area, you can drag this out and kind of start to form a circle. And also you can grab these little, let me zoom in for you guys. This is a lot easier to do once you're zoomed in. The little handles here to try to determine the strength. If you control and hold shift, if you hold shift while you're dragging these handles, it'll drag both of them evenly, which works good for circles. So I'm just going to try to get this. I'm not going to get it perfect right now because I don't really care. This is just a demonstration, but you really do want to get this pretty accurate because this is what the golf cart's going to plan around. So if it's not accurate, you run the risk of running into curbs. So and you can if you click in the middle, you'll add another point, as you can see. And basically you're going to do that and then go down to the next one. What you're going to have to do though is hit the design button again and then click your next points to add it basically automatically adds a new path. As you see over there's an unnamed path now. And again, let's just drag these out. There's multiple ways you can do this. Just experiment. Oh, hold on. Control Z. Oh, doing it again. Control Z is your friend for sure. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but I'm just going to get this one done. Then you can bother with the rest. And you're going to want to go around and do all the curbs. I'll show you what you can do though is you can copy in path layers from old maps. So if you take a new map, you don't necessarily have to recreate all these curbs again, which is really handy. So this isn't perfect, but I don't really care for now. Once you've drawn a lot of these, I'm going to zoom back out. You're going to want to collect it all into one path. So I'm just going to right click over here and say merge visible paths. Sorry, no paths are visible. So make sure the visibility is on for both those paths. You'll see them light up in blue. Merge visible paths, and it just combines it together into one. And I'm just going to name it path. Once you have this path, you're not done yet. Make sure you go back to the layers dialog and basically, hold on just a second. Let me turn my notifications off. I should have done that earlier. All right. You're going to draw dots basically all the way around this automatically. So down here in the stroke tool, and make sure you have the obstacle layer selected because it'll go into that layer so that you can easily delete it in the future. you're going to choose this paint along the path option, turn off anti-aliasing, and turn the width down to about 2.5 pixels. Open up line style and go to as sparse as you can, because we want to make this quite very sparse, and leave it like that. And then you're going to just hit stroke, and what that does is, if you zoom in, you will see that there are now dots all around this path. I can turn the path visibility off, and I can turn satellite and this off, and you'll see now that there's these dots. Now the path planner on the golf cart will ignore these dots, and it'll also inflate these dots so that this is a solid wall. It inflates some inflation around them so that you don't have to draw a solid line. Now you want to make this as sparse as possible so that it doesn't mess up, because you're basically interjecting artificial data into the LiDAR map, and it uses this map to also localize. So the more artificial data you add here, the less confident the localization will be. So we want to make them fairly sparse, but some here and there is not a big deal. The algorithm is more than capable. Some of the other things you can do while you're in here is choose the map layer, and if there was any cars in here, you can take the paintbrush tool, this guy, turn the hardness to solid, and use the white color, and you can paint over stuff. You can just get rid of stuff, or you can add stuff. Now I just painted over a tree, so we do want that tree, so I'm going to put it back. But if you had stuff or people that were in the map while you were mapping that you don't want the cart to get confused with in the future because the person isn't actually there anymore, or a car was parked that you don't want it to care about, you want to erase those so that it's not showing in the map. You can add or remove anything you want, but you be careful not to do it too much, because the more you modify this map, the less confident localization will be to a degree. So you basically are done there. You're going to file export as, first of all, make sure you have only showing the layers that you want exported. You don't want the satellite map to be on, and you don't want, you just want the obstacle layer showing, which is these dots, as you can see when I might have messed it up. But if you stroked it on the obstacle layer, or sorry, if you stroked this path on the obstacle layer, you'll be able to delete those obstacles out. I guess I'm not actually sure where those are. Yeah, okay, they are in the obstacle layer. They're just taking a long time to render. So, and before we export that, let's save this as I'm just going to say the XCF is the actual Gimp file, so you can open it up in the future and modify it again without having to re-import, and you'll have all your layer information still saved and your path information still saved. So it's really important to save the XCF. Save that, and then export it as the actual PGM. And you can just type .pgm. Make sure the name is the same or as what it originally was, or create a new name, but you'll have to update the YAML file that came along with it to have the same exact name, and you'll have to update your APM start configuration file to point to the new map name. So I'm going to hit export and I'm going to hit replace because I don't really care about this map. And you choose raw, export, and you're basically done. There we go. You're basically done. One thing to note, you can copy these paths into new files. So if I take a whole new map, I don't want to have to redraw this whole path you see in red, especially once you have all the curbs marked. So what you can do is you can right click, copy path, go to your new map, your new XCF file, and paste that in. Maybe reline it back up because it might not be oriented quite right, but at least all the data is there. You might have to click and drag and modify it a little bit, but it's much quicker than recreating these from scratch. That's basically it. If you have any questions, obviously you can contact any of us on from Phase 4. My name is Abraham Long, and you can contact me specifically for this sort of thing.